Welcome to Cannabis School. I'm your host, Jesse Angeles.
And I'm Brandon Elder.
And we're here to talk to you about everything pertaining to cannabis, from vape,
flower,
edibles,
strains,
and everything in between. Hey everybody, we are excited.
Yeah, we are.
Thrilled? Joyed?
Super fucking excited.
We are. Yeah, we'll see right there. There's like neon lights. But no, we're really, we get a chance every once in a while to be
micro excited.
We're very micro excited. Not micro excited like it's cold outside micro excited, right? It's more in line of where
like it's always micro even when it's not cold. Is that
Does your mom tell you everything?
Yeah.
So what we don't get to talk about when we get to do a 101. We have probably, that's by far the hardest type of show to be able to create.
Yeah, I think our 101s, we try and make sure that they're a lot more intentional and designed.
Yeah, and I mean, not to say that the strains aren't intentional by design, but it's a little bit more free-flowing. We review the strain, but when we talk about a 101, we want to make sure that it's going to be something that we not only feel we practiced ourselves, but we wish others would practice. And that's today's topic, is microdosing.
Yeah.
Microdosing THC, and we're going to talk about microdosing.
Psilocybin as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We both of them very medicinal.
Yeah.
And thinking about microdosing,
very intentional.
It has to be, but it's also a very kind way to bring somebody into cannabis.
Or psilocybin. Yeah,
exactly, because it's not the full-blown effect. It's very mild. So focusing on THC, right? We're working with a company that specifically focuses on microdosing.
Yeah.
And it's really nice on the sense because it's easier to talk about that, to talk about THC microdosing, and then levels of microdosing.
So let's talk about why even microdosing, though.
Yeah.
Because THC, cannabis specifically, in high dose, has the opposite effect often as it does in a low dose or a microdose.
Correct.
So often those people who get anxious, stressed, whatever from cannabis,
they're not dosing it. Like
maybe it's just the dose.
I think it is. It's the dose where, like, we enjoy flower. We always say flower first.
That's my favorite.
But there's multiple reasons why. So you can microdose with flower very easily.
Yeah.
It's taking a minute amount where you could do one hit worth, if that's where you want to start. And it's a little bit more intimidating because of the culture of smoking and how it had wreaked havoc on Americans and people all over the world, that it wasn't going to affect you.
It's the whole thing of like smoking is bad. And even the perception. A lot of people don't want to be perceived as someone who's smoking.
Well, because what's the connotation of somebody who smokes? They're dirty, they're disgusting.
Trashy, yeah.
Right? It was like my daughter, she saw me smoking my Happy Camper while we were camping. So I was a Happy Camper because I was smoking my Happy Camper.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was smoking that, my daughter came over and told me, she goes, "Dad, you know that's bad for you." So we went through that whole conversation back and forth of being able to understand, yes, I'm not going to lie. Yes, there's burning plant in here and it will affect me.
Inhaling something burning into your lungs is not the best.
Right. I mean, most of us who live within urban settings or in large cities, we have to deal with a lot of smog. Utah is not a great place when it comes to pollution.
Horrible air quality.
And it depends on where you're at in Utah.
Yeah, that's true.
If you get in higher elevations,
you get out in the mountains outside?
Dude.
Oh, it's amazing.
You've never smelled air so clean. Ever.
It's delicious.
But in the valley.
Oh, it's just pure garbage.
Yeah, and we've had a really good year, I would say. It's not as much smog as previous years.
Winter
was the worst. Used to be.
Where it hits.
But this last winter, at the end of it, it was really nice, right?
I think we had more snow than we've had in ages, though, so it helps.
Yeah. Anyways, I went off topic.
Yeah, random tangent.
Yeah, but when we're talking about being able to use cannabis in those microdoses with flower, I would almost you'd have to be guided by somebody who knows what they're doing on that.
Yes.
Because you can't just roll up a pin joint and say, here you go.
Well, and you wouldn't, like, it's tough because you never know what is a lot.
Yeah.
And it's hard to dose if you have no idea what a dose is. And if you're going
True.
into it on your own with a new product that you have no clue what to do, it can be kind of scary.
Well, and people can think of it almost as CBD. When you get into CBD, there are measurements to be able to take and how much is going to be. We tried that one product, that CBD product, and even though it was really good. It was really good. It was very medicinal. And I am
It's an organic grown, not for the flavor,
no,
but for the
definitely not for the flavor.
medicine. Yeah.
But it's going right on to that point. If you're treating it like medicine, it will be medicine.
Yeah.
And that's let's talk about the microdosing that I feel is really pertinent to be able to understand, and from a personal from my aspect, from your aspect, right? We talk about depression, right? Just because you read about a strain saying this is great for depression and you are very new to cannabis, the wrong thing to do is go out there and buy yourself a bag full of indica edibles and thinking that that's going to help, or sativa edibles because somebody told you sativa is a great way to get rid of depression. Not so.
Yeah.
Not so. There are so many different types of strains in the terpene
Profiles will really,
totally change
yeah.
the experience. That's why different grows have different type of terpene profiles from different geographical locations. So when we're
Yeah.
talking about microdosing with THC, the idea of going to an edible has always been very upsetting to me, because unless you have done it yourself, and even then, that's a little bit of a crapshoot. And dosing by any means is not like pinpoint accuracy, but it's pretty damn close.
You can get, but the like it's hard because you still have to count for degradation of quality, like
Right.
even over temperature, what was your percentage? And a lot of them will still like you'll get ones that test their end percentage, but I feel like
Well, and it's an investment too, because if you think about it, there's not really a whole lot of options in any type of dispensary that's going to say, here's a microdose. And then you will have advertisers for certain cannabis brands that will not bring up their name, that I don't agree with, on how they're being able to proposition edibles to everyday people. I don't care if it's a hemp derived Delta 9.
yeah, it's still
That's
THC the same
100%. And that is going to turn into 11 hydroxy THC. And it's going to be 5 times stronger.
when they digest it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
that's irresponsible. I believe that even the advertisement going, hey, smoking a little harsh on your lungs. That's right. Because I eat these edibles that fuck me up. Right? That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's not a very safe microdose.
Not at all.
It needs to be mild. It needs to feel
Well,
gradual.
so
Because that's what scares people from going into cannabis or
Yeah.
leaving it completely.
So, and we talk about this, like edibles are terrible because of that dose of like, okay, 1 milligram, if it's 5 times stronger, is 5 milligrams. If you're digesting it as an edible,
Yeah.
you don't think about that. 5 milligrams is now 25 milligrams if you're digesting that as an edible. So if you're having that, okay, maybe your dose is really small, but like 25 milligrams, think about that. If someone's going, hey, I took a 10 milligram edible because that's supposed to be a dose, right? This is my first time.
Right.
Well, that just digests. Now that's 5 times stronger. That's 50 milligrams equivalent that you just ingested.
You know what I just thought about? I thought about that video you did when I took 250
Milligrams.
milligrams.
Yeah.
And if we did the math on that, right?
But that's
It's
like
insane,
2,500. It's not bad.
But it's not bad. But I'm
For-
saying for many people, though, for
People.
you who are a little bit more experienced, right? Because you have certain physical circumstances that are going on with your body, right? None of them have to do with erectile dysfunction. Just clearing that up.
Not at the moment.
Just clearing that up. Maybe me, not him. Anyways, my old ass. But you know, when you've got all of those things going on within your nervous system and your CB2, that's hard because your body needs a lot of stimulant outside to be able to take away from that pain.
Yeah, it takes a lot to get rid of it.
Right. I mean, you think about people who are suffering from the I don't know what the fuck you got going on with you called fibromyalgia, right?
Oh God. Yeah,
And
I feel so bad for them.
it's just an autoimmune disease that has no name. It's
Yeah,
just like we don't know what the fuck it is. So
it's this now.
best of luck.
Yeah. Good luck.
But
Hope you can smoke some weed.
right, and that's exactly what it gets pointed to. But when you're getting into it, say you just recently were diagnosed with fibromyalgia, the worst thing to do would be to go consume an edible that you have no idea of the strain, and that's
Or
what's
the experience.
or the experience.
Or the dose.
And that's the other thing. That's why I think of microdosing products are a great entry to be able to help those who are one, they don't want to smoke it, but they definitely want to eat it. And it's not a shameless plug. Like I like this product for that reason. Would I consider this to be an everyday product for a more experienced user? No, but it's great to have on hand.
Which one?
And it's discreet with the chill tablets.
So, let me throw in my 2 cents on that.
Okay.
Because even as a heavy medicinal user, I still use the chill tablets.
And it feels decent. It's a
Not
nice
for the THC, because that's 2 milligrams, 2.5 milligrams of THC
per tablet.
per tablet, but it's got like tons more cannabinoids in there than that.
I know,
So you're
right?
not going to have that
crazy
feeling of
feeling.
any high anyway. But
I
for
do.
me,
I feel really relaxed.
yeah, I feel the other cannabinoids.
Yes.
I don't feel the THC because it's
such a
so
minute dose
minute
for
that-
you.
yeah. For me, my dose, like I already have so much more in me that 2 milligrams isn't touching me. But the the other cannabinoids is what I feel.
Yeah.
So even as a daily heavy user, I still value and really like the chill tablets. That it's like if I'm feeling a little tense or just like I need to take the edge off, I just pop one of those.
Yeah, and it's one of the great things about it as well is I like the consistency of feel of that, but I think about myself if I was starting out. Not like that. We've talked about so many times, like when it was like my first real smoke sesh,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's like I had
I remember.
way too much. And then the buddy that you had here, he was like, "Oh, you got to try this. You got to do this. You got to do this." And it was just like, "Whoa, that's too much." And I even told him, I'm like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
Because I am like, I can't even like focus on anything other than this like freaking
Tiny tube of light of
yeah.
existence.
I'm just like, what is
Yeah.
going on? But being slowly introduced to cannabis, there are people that are going to be a little bit more apprehensive about it because of the smoking part.
Yeah.
We've already talked about edible part. It takes a long ass time.
So the best way to do it, if you're getting new into cannabis, I think these discrete tablets are fantastic. So, my grandma that I made edibles for years ago,
Yeah.
she started getting head pain again.
That
And
sucks.
yeah, and she asked for cannabis because in the past it was up to fentanyl. She had tried every single thing and it was even fentanyl and it wasn't working.
Ugh,
And
that just makes my skin crawl.
yeah, it's horrible. So now when this came back, she, instead of going to the doctor, was like, hey, can I get cannabis stuff for that? But it's bad enough that she's actually asking for something because she usually
That's got to be a lot of pain.
Yeah, she usually just lives with it. Like she's from that generation of
Yeah.
we don't take anything, we don't need anything. I'm not dead. Like so
Yeah, they'll live in pain.
yeah, they exist in pain. Their existence will be miserable before they will take something. I'm like, I don't understand that. Because I live with chronic pain every single day, and I can't imagine going, no, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'd rather just stay where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, I get surgery can be terrifying for some things, and some aren't. Like, they said my back was inoperable at the time. So for that, it's something that I can understand there being a fear of. But why hate yourself that much to put yourself in that type of pain?
Yeah, I think the stigma too with it is that pain meds are a typical go-to right away, right? Because that's what was pushed for a really long time. Now, we know the adverse effects. We know that people still get addicted to it. I mean, the numbers have dropped, but it's still pretty high comparatively speaking, and it's harder to get. where you have a natural painkiller in cannabis, and that's no lie. That's not,
No.
somebody trying to, and
Yeah.
if you're sharing this with somebody who just goes, yeah, whatever, cannabis, that's not going to be able to help me. Well, it's good to start out in microdoses because then
Yeah.
now you can, like these tablets, right? Like I've given them to family members,
Oh,
and
yeah.
my sister-in-law has she's had a very rough life. Let's just say that. She's had a very rough life. Um,
Yeah.
two kids from two different dads,
Took
both.
me a second. I had to think, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's just tragic. It's very tragic because it's
Yeah.
with that. And she just suffers with this like pain of feeling like an elephant's on her chest.
That's
And
got to be a lot of stress.
oh, yeah. And,
Yeah.
and, and she's had like, she's gotten, she's been able to get like the, like syrups, the THC syrup that you can put into like water or something like that,
Okay.
like water soluble,
Yeah.
but more on the flavor side. It's not something you would put in a drink. It's something that you would just shoot.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and it's okay, but it's inconsistent for her because it's more THC focused.
Oh,
And so she
yeah.
like every once in a while she'll take it and she's like, "Oh, I feel good. Fuck the world. I don't care."
Just depends on her mood, everything else that's going
Exactly.
on, what's going on with her. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's too much. Like she can't just do that in the middle of the day because she doesn't know how her body's going to feel. But I gave her these and she was able to feel like there wasn't an elephant sitting on her chest. She just felt like,
That's huge.
oh,
Could you
but,
imagine?
and it was really hard for her because she didn't want to get, messed up in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
reason why microdose is so much better for those who are getting into it slowly.
even then, like,
Because my wife is the same way. She microdosed, but now she can enjoy cannabis just like I can.
do you really want to get messed up during the
Never.
day?
I don't want to get messed up anytime.
Yeah, I don't have a desire to get like messed up. And even during the day, there's times that I'm like, man, I wonder what it would be like to feel some of the highs that I did when I first started.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, but why? Because I can still take an edible or go puff on a pen and go wander an art museum
Yeah, and I
and
feel it.
I can still enjoy the same experience. I
Exactly.
don't have to be crazy high. But I also don't have, like, it's ridiculous for me to go take 800 milligrams, I feel like, and go to an art gallery.
Yeah, I totally get, and it is. It's different. I remember like when you got me those disposable pens from Colorado. Whenever you would go up,
Oh, yeah.
and I would puff on those, and I would be like out of my mind trying to mow my lawn. My lawn wasn't big lawn,
No,
but it would take me 2.5 hours to mow my yard because
that's wild.
I was just having a good time. But I wasn't the thing. If I look back at it, I would have more appreciated being able to slowly get into it to appreciate what I'm feeling. And that's why, and I won't keep beating this dead horse if anybody thinks we're just trying to pitch them because we really enjoy them because of that reason alone, is that it's a consistent feeling. It's small. It's not large and it doesn't last long, but it kicks in pretty quickly.
I like
It's around
that
about
fast
20 minutes,
onset.
like max, but I
That's
can feel it within 10.
that's another struggle with edibles is they
Right.
take so long to kick in. And even if you're trying to microdose and you're giving someone a small piece of an edible, okay, maybe it was 2 hours and they still didn't feel anything. My first time was like 2.5 or 3 hours. I didn't feel it. I took 2 more. And then it all kicked in later. And I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I'm high.
Well, and that's talking about that, like when you get those feelings from an edible, you're not dosing it. Okay. You can't tell me you're going to rip apart unless that thing was a perfectly made square, right?
That was 100% like evenly distributed.
Yes. Molds.
Because they're never that way.
Never.
They're never
They're
perfect.
shapes.
And they're never the same. Like,
We'll take Nerd Rope.
okay,
The
yeah.
Nerd Rope ones, right? They're 500 milligrams for a Nerd Rope.
Yeah.
You're not going to dose that properly. You're
no,
not.
well, and It's going to be
And it's going to be
500 milligrams for the entire rope.
right, but what side got more? Because
Yeah,
that's not going to be evenly
exactly.
distributed.
And that's the problem. So it's like any other edible. You have moments or pieces of it if you were to break it up. You're like, okay, this piece I hardly felt anything. This piece I felt a lot. This piece I didn't feel anything at all. Like there's so much inconsistency, I feel like, if you were to break that up, because usually from one small section to the next, they're not 100% the same, like, molecular breakdown.
Nope, not at all. And you just go into it. What do they do constantly when they're manufacturing these things? They're looking for fun ways to be able to go, hey, it's not plain Jane. But again, I don't need my medicine to be candy. And I have to,
Yeah.
you reminded me of that today when I tried the CBD products that we tried earlier. We'll do a review on it later on, but it it wasn't my favorite taste.
No.
But when you talked about being medicine, my medicine doesn't need to taste good. If we think back to old times medicine,
Even medicine now, my aspirin doesn't taste good. My Tylenol doesn't taste good.
yeah, but you can get candy coated,
You
get it
can,
mint
but then it's
coated,
just coated with something else.
yeah, and
It's not the actual medicine. The medicine tastes like shit.
well, let's talk about. I mean, just even burning the plant, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
there are flavors that we can taste, but that's more for an experienced user.
And I will say the Happy Camper really helps
Yeah,
because
it
it
does.
has that, like, filter, and that filter makes a big difference
Huge difference.
in the flavor of it.
Well, and it just makes it. I don't know. It's just a clean way to dry herb.
Yeah.
It's the cleanest way to dry herb, and that may even go for vaporizers. Like some vaporizers are
You
able
don't
to pull that out.
So you don't get the same carcinogens because you're not actually burning it. When you don't activate the flame to flower,
true.
you don't have the same carcinogens.
Because you're baking
You're
it.
baking it, yeah. So usually you're not activating that. That
Well, unless you
same
can like the Mighty Plus, you can nuke it.
that
You can
burns
turn it up pretty high.
Oh,
Yeah,
weird.
you're getting up to 400.
Oh, mine does that too on my
Your Dr.
Airizer
Dabber?
Solo 2.
Oh
No,
yeah, your solo too.
my Dr. Dabber might. I've used that for flour once, and I was like,
Meh.
just to try it. And I'm like, I like any of my other vaporizers for flour better. So I prefer that one for concentrates, and it's great for that. But
Yeah. No, and another thing, like on man, you just made me think of it. Like that's one of the reasons why I really like tinctures, because yes, the whole bottle you can get that going, but if you're stepping up your microdosing game,
it's
where you can go from
drop.
yeah,
And that's how I've gotten my dad, my mom, and my girlfriend with
all
theirs,
hooked.
is all just with drops. It's all drops.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's like, I can dose you down to the point that you're not going to get high.
Right.
And you can get the experience of no stress, no anxiety,
Relaxation,
or
yeah.
pain, or sleep, whatever it is that you're needing, just depending on dose.
Well, and the experience is going to be different from when you smoke it. So
Mhm.
when you talk about microdosing with smoking cannabis, a really good one is to use a vaporizer, I feel,
Yeah.
because it's a smaller bowl. Like take the PAX 3 that I used to love. I used to
that's a
love,
tiny
love, love
bowl.
it. It's such a tiny bowl. You don't need, and you can get like the cap over there when you put it
Mhm.
down. It'll make it even smaller. Like it's smaller
Yeah.
than the
A
just doing a
ton
half
smaller.
bowl in that. And it's a great experience if that's what you want. And when you talk about vaporizing, that should be talked about with microdosing, not
Yeah.
going flame to flower, because it's a lot more difficult unless you know your dose.
Well, because let's say that for the first time, you're actually going and you don't have a joint. Or even
Right.
if you do, the problem is if you've never smoked before, you're probably going to inhale too much, too little,
Or
You're
not at
gonna-
all.
or not at
Yeah.
all. It'll go into your mouth and not your lungs. Like there's all of these things that you don't realize and you might not even feel. And you're going to go to it and go, man, that experience wasn't anything what I hoped it would be.
And that's what's going to push people away from it.
Yeah.
And they don't like the experience. And what do you typically hear in the horror stories? And when they don't microdose,
Or they get way too high. Because
Yeah.
it's even with taking a hit. Okay, well, I didn't know, so I lit the whole bowl. And I just took, I just
Yeah.
kept pulling.
how much flour was in
Yeah.
there?
how much did you hit? Like, how big was your hit? How much did you inhale? And so it's so nice to have a friend or someone there to go, hey, go low, go slow. No, that's a big hit. All right, shit. Like,
Yeah, even the
get
hit
the
that I just took.
CBD. Like,
Yeah, even the hit that I
so.
just took. That's another thing too, talking about that, because you can lessen the effects of your THC. So we did a review before this, right?
Mhm.
And I took the CBD after, and it was that very strong tasting CBD. It was very potent. Within minutes,
Yeah.
I felt a dramatic change in how I felt. And by the
two
time we
two
got,
minutes, 3 minutes, I'd
yeah,
say.
2 or 3
Yeah,
minutes, I mean, it kicked in.
it
Boom.
was fast.
That was super fast. That is by far the strongest CBD I've ever tried.
Really?
I 100%, because I'm more sensitive
The
to it
only
because I
one I
don't
think
use it
that's
as much.
stronger that I've had is one that Derek made once in all like one of
Oh, I
his.
would believe that,
But
dude.
aside from that, this is
Derek's a
the
wizard.
yes,
He's a
amazing stuff.
sorcerer. Yeah, he can.
But aside
Wow.
from that, this I think is the next strongest stuff that I've had.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the experience on it. I didn't enjoy the first part, but again, it goes in my head. It's
It's
medicine,
medicine. Well,
not
and
a treat.
they have capsules, so you can just take the capsule. I think microdosing is definitely the best way to get into cannabis or,
Yeah.
so it's if you do it properly, and that's what I was going to do. Mine went off on a random tangent. So back to my grandma getting into cannabis.
Yeah.
I gave her the capsules from this CBD company, and then I gave her discreet chill tablets because if I can help her with only a microdose, I don't have to make her macrodoses.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that those will help and that I don't have to,
Well, that's a great thing too, because say your system, maybe you've been an individual that's just like you swore off cannabis because some event happened, or
yeah.
somebody was telling them that they were getting too paranoid or they're being too weird or
Or you had
whatever.
a bad experience.
Yeah, you had a really bad experience. Like my brother, terrified of edibles. I can't even bring him up.
Has he tried a discrete tablet?
Oh, there's no way. He won't touch
Really?
it. He is terrified.
Even though it's like 2 milligrams and then most of it's other
Oh, I'm going to
cannabinoids?
get him to try it. The thing for him, though, it's that overdosing
Yeah.
and that's what you need to be thinking about. If you wouldn't eat, you said it before, you wouldn't eat a whole bottle full of Tylenol, would you?
No, it's just like any other medication.
Yep.
You don't take a whole bottle of Tylenol.
You know exactly what dose works for you. Some
Yeah.
people are like, I need half a
Well, and they
tablet.
have the recommended dose on the back.
Right.
You average like person takes 2 tablets, and you're like, okay, cool. Like
Right.
that's what Advil or whatever says. And so
They
it's the
say
same.
one
Okay,
tablet,
I
but
don't. I
one
haven't
gel
touched
cap.
any of that stuff in forever.
Well, I
But
still, I don't frequent it as much. But I understand that CBD, I would take that CBD every day.
I have them.
Without a doubt, I would take that every day. And the reason why is because of the dose is the correct dose. And that's exactly when you talk about cannabis and microdosing, you need to gradually go into it. You can't just go in.
Except for with CBD.
Yeah,
I feel
CBD, you
like
can
if you
go crazy.
microdose a CBD,
No.
you are actually just probably wasting your money.
Well, and I wasn't insinuating that you should microdose it, but there's a
Yeah, I know.
correct dose.
Yeah.
There is a bare minimum dose that you can start out with, but CBD would be like, dude, don't consume too much lettuce, okay? Because it could be bad for you.
So I didn't read and go research anymore to see what basis or backing there was behind it, but there was something that said that up to like 1,500 milligrams a day of CBD is fine. Well, thinking, I'm pretty sure I've done more than that in a day. So, yeah. But
I could see if it's psychoactive, I mean, if you went through a whole, because it's pretty easy to go through a CBD tincture compared to a THC tincture.
well, you think about it, even if you're 3% or, they have something, because there's a lot that they're like, hey, this is this many milligrams. And you're like, okay, even if you had 1,500 milligrams of CBD in a day, maybe that person might still feel high because even if it's full spectrum, what is the total cannabinoid of THC or every other one in there? So,
Yeah. Well, and I agree, and that's why I've really enjoyed and just being able to experience discreet and give it to others, and knowing that it's legal. It's
Yeah.
something you can buy
It's
online
cool because they
and
ship to
ship right to you.
literally all 50 states.
Yep.
So it's
So,
fantastic.
and they've gone through recent price changes, which is way cool. They've gone through a
Yeah, you were
complete
saying that.
brand change of what their focus is, and they're hitting the right
It's
market.
true because before, so little quick side tangent. We liked Discreet's products. And then they were one of these companies that in Utah liked to be an MLM. And we're not into that.
No.
And they decided that, hey, they weren't into that. So we decided to have a conversation because
hmm
we like their products, but we just don't like MLMs.
We've been sitting on this product for probably half a year, if not longer.
Yeah,
Actually, longer.
definitely longer.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about a year we've been sitting on this product because of that reason alone. And we had worked with a previous company that was doing the same thing.
We don't like it.
We couldn't do it anymore because of that reason alone. We just didn't see that that makes more sense to you guys.
But I
Because,
like these microdoses. And
yeah.
they also have, this is not microdosing, but they have these, I've been trying them out, these sleep tablets.
Oh, yeah. You
And I
took
took,
2 last night.
yeah, I don't know. I don't never sleep good. So, um, I'm not really sure. It has a lot of melatonin and L-theanine, so I woke up feeling tired this morning.
A little groggy.
Yeah.
And that's the time that you take it out. But that's nice. And they also have a relax one, which is even a microdose of a microdose. It's like two.
No,
It's two.
relax is
Is it more?
it is so I think the chill tablets are about, hang on,
2.5.
I went and grabbed them real fast. The sleep one has 5 milligrams of CBN and 25 milligrams of CBD. And then it's also got 90 milligrams of discrete sleep blend, which is L-theanine and melatonin. So, but the chill tablets are just 2.5 milligrams of THC and 15 milligrams of like full spectrum hemp stuff.
Oh, wow.
But the relief is 100 total cannabinoids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a higher dose than that, but I think is more for pain relief and stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's designed for.
So
And that's what's cool about the chill ones too. They're actually pretty tasty. All of them are actually really tasty. They're not bad.
yeah, they're like Smarties kind of.
hmm
Yeah, I take usually one of these every day. I take one of these every night. But I gave the relief ones to my grandma to try out as well with her head because
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I was like, I could use these, but I have a million other products that I will use, and I want to see what's going to help you. So,
You know, when we're talking about microdosing with THC, you have to understand that THC is a mild hallucinogen in many ways. THC can have hallucinogenic products
yeah,
that are
properties.
properties of it. Sorry, products.
Yeah.
Properties, and that and those properties in taking in large doses can trigger a psychedelic experience. I've told you about a few times where I've smoked a certain type of strain where it put me in a psychedelic experience. It was very crazy, very vivid. But
Well, but you think about it, any distortion of length, time, anything like that is a mild hallucinogenic. How many times have you listened to a song while you were a little high or really high? That song felt like it was an hour.
yeah, or the music itself changed your body temperature. You ever have
Yeah.
that? Where you
Yeah.
feel like warm or you'll feel kind of cold, like it's cool. Like
Or I was hiking when I was first smoking and I felt like my legs were like this tall
yeah.
and my arms were like crazy long. And it felt like they were dragging on the
Yup.
ground, but they weren't. And I'm like,
And that's
man.
usually when you first get into it if you don't understand proper microdosing.
Well, there was no micro about
No,
it. It
it
was
was just
all.
yeah, go crazy.
Well, because it was the same guy who was here when you had your first experience.
Yeah.
And it was smoke this, smoke this, smoke this, smoke this, take this. All right, here. So I was like, all right.
Just a
My first
onslaught.
experience with 100 milligrams was, hey, here's this 115 milligram brownie. Oh, shit. Normally we do like 20. All right. Sure. Yeah, let's take that. And that was at the time the highest I had ever been. I actually had to lay down on the couch I just put on music,
Oh,
and I had to like breathe because I got hot. I was like sweating, and probably like 15 minutes that I just had to breathe because it was too much. And I'm like, and then it was fine after that, but that was
it's a
insane. It was
lot.
the highest I had ever been at the moment.
And that's what's cool about like those discrete tablets is that you could take a bunch of them, but it's just increasing the amount of CBD that you're taking with it.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, you will get a little bit more of a euphoria from it, but it's not to the point where it's unbearable. Now, it
no.
could be, depending on how, I mean, if you sat there and ate them like Smarties,
Oh, there's 60 in a jar, so if you ate the whole thing, I'm sure you could feel something.
oh, you definitely feel it. But that's the thing, it's being able to have those right amount of doses. But when we talk about the psychedelic experience, even though cannabis is a mild hallucinogen and it could trigger an event. But I've experienced with hallucinogens, I know you have. I go back to my Navy days where I did LSD multiple times.
Hmm.
And because I didn't know or was introduced to it in a proper way,
Yeah, and your dosing was insane.
yeah, I had four,
4 tabs, basically, your first time.
yep, very first time. And I wasn't told what it was. They gave it to me on a sugar cube, couple sugar cubes, and said, put this in your mouth, don't chew it. I remember very vividly.
Oh, yeah, you would.
And then I went upstairs. I was talking to this girl that I was really interested in. She was much taller than me. I'm 5'8". She was 6 feet tall.
Before the LSD or
No, no, it
after?
was way
Okay.
before. And then it was when I was sitting down and I looked down at the carpet and the carpet started to move.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it was
Yep.
moving, it was because
Your
of,
perception of
yeah, it was totally altered.
reality at that moment.
And I got to tell you that wasn't a great entrance into what is, you know, medicine for the brain. And when doing a hallucinogen like that one, it was done with the intent of let's just experience something crazy. But where you can look at microdosing with THC, you can do the same thing with psilocybin, which I think that is, and I feel that is by far the best way to be able to use psychedelics, even though LSD does have its properties and it does very well in areas. But for myself, I microdosed psilocybin for a while. And recently I did a 3 day on, and then I'm going 3 days off, and then going to do another 3 days on just to experiment how I feel.
Yeah.
And why doing a microdose and talking about a microdose, I say that we're talking like a tenth of a gram here
Yep.
that we're taking,
Yes.
give or take, sometimes the 14th.
Roughly. It's
Yeah,
about a tenth.
but it's about a
Yeah.
tenth. And, once 20 minutes goes by, there's no coming back. And for most people, they freak out about a psychedelic, right? If I ate 4 grams of psilocybin, which is a decent amount,
It's a good trip.
and if I took that 20 minutes later, if I haven't yacked it up, I'm going for an entire ride.
Oh, I mean, even if you do yak it up, you're still going for an entire
Oh, you
ride.
totally are. You're going to
Yeah.
go for a crazy ride.
Hmm.
But that's a lot, right? It's just like same with THC.
Well, but
So,
it's the intent. So
well, it is, but
there is value if you guys, one of our audience members messaged in and was like, hey, you should talk about psilocybin as well if you guys want. Um, and like it is good in higher doses. There is certain value.
yes.
Like John Hopkins University has done lots of studies on it. There's playlists, there's medical things that are being done that you can use psilocybin with specific doses and all of this stuff to help heal from PTSD or depression or all of these things, sometimes for their life.
Yeah, totally. And being and the reason why I got into you introduced me to it. And when I started, it was more of the sensation that I got at first was vivid colors. That's it. Just
Yeah.
everything's brighter. I had a lot of energy, lots of
Yes.
energy.
You
Like,
have like youthful energy
yeah,
is what
just
I
phew.
that's what it was is with microdosing is colors are brighter, you feel more connected. At
Yeah.
least I feel more connected to people, to earth, to plants, to
Well, and I don't know if you get this, but
whatever.
it also makes me just a little bit randy, if we're going to be completely honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Because it's one of those properties I'm just like, this is
But at
pretty
the
good.
same time, I think it's
Give it the
also
misses.
it could be, but it's if you have so much stress, like lately, I feel like life has been too much. And I feel like
Yeah.
I've been in a funk. And you've noticed that. Like
Yeah, I have.
I haven't done anywhere near the stuff that I normally would do.
Well,
And I've
because it's
just
hard. Life's hard, dude.
yeah. And then I feel like I took probably 2 or 3 micros in the last week. Um
And
and I have been more present. I have gotten so much stuff done and I don't have the same like depression and anxiety that's hanging over me, but I have this like weirdness of I don't know what to do with all of my time.
yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I've had those things in funks where and that's what I really like about why I would encourage, I don't know if I should say, yeah, I don't care. I would encourage those to be able to explore that route. I've talked to so many different individuals who are extremely religious
Mm-hmm.
to those who are very anti-religion, but they have this similar experience on microdosing with psilocybin because then they're kind of able to let go of all that bullshit.
You can let go of your ego.
Yeah, you do. You let go of it. You accept responsibility for certain things. And again, it goes with the intent though. Intent
Yeah.
isn't necessarily like I want to be able to be more clear-headed. Like just going to the intent going, this is going to help me and I'm going to let it do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And it really gives me this like so this is kind of funny with intent. When I went camping, second day into camping, I'm not really jazzed to be camping at this point because it keeps
What?
fucking
No.
raining. But
Yeah, it did rain a
oh
lot.
my gosh, crazy amount of rain. And I took it, but I took it with the intent of I don't want to feel upset. And it was very strange because I felt very uncomfortable and very like almost disoriented. It was
Huh.
very strange
Yeah.
because I normally don't feel that.
Yeah.
And I felt disoriented. And I'm just like, it always goes with the intent with it. It's an experience that is not psychedelic in any way. I don't feel psychedelic. I feel more grounded. I feel
Yeah.
like it's what the promise of an antidepressant is supposed to be.
Yes, exactly. And I feel so
Short term.
I haven't used antidepressants in years.
Well, I
You've
did
been
for a
off
little
and on.
while.
Yeah, you've been
Yeah.
a lot better with them than you did before.
Yeah, I was really
It's been a
dependent upon him.
huge, like a huge step.
Yeah.
So,
I'm way more present, not 100% because of
I-
how I am.
is anyone?
I'm no, not in this day and age.
You know,
But I will say that when, recently been going through a lot of anxiety, a lot of waking up with anxiety. You've had the same things, right? And it became to the point where my blood pressure was going higher. And when talking to a doc, he's just like, yeah, we can try you on Wellbutrin for an anti-anxiety medication. And part of me really wanted that relief that those medications would do for me in the past, but they're not intended for long-term use.
yeah.
But there are people who've been on them for years,
But people
decades.
are prescribed like they are.
Right.
So,
And it's so open. But when you think about psilocybin, like honestly, how long does it take? Like if you take Celexa,
mhm.
right? I've been on Celexa and 20 milligrams, which is not a large dose, but I'm very sensitive to medications. And I'm like, okay, I'm taking this one. Dude, it took 2 weeks till I started to feel something from it.
Holy shit.
And most of it, and they're like, yeah, it takes a while to get into your system. It's not going to be like, take it and it's gone.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it affected me in so many different ways in my life, where physically, emotionally, like I didn't pick up on things.
Yeah.
I was just focused on work.
Well, because you're not as present and you
No.
miss all of that. It's tough.
Yeah. And
It's the struggle. So, um, when I went down to talk to my grandma and give her those things for her head, one of my cousins was in town. I haven't seen him in ages. He's been married probably 14 years, something like
I thought
that.
you were gonna say 14 times.
No,
You're like,
just
damn,
once.
damn son.
But I don't think I've ever talked to his wife this entire time.
Mm.
And she was there, and they live in Jersey now. And she was talking about how different it is because she was like, yeah, a lot of people here in Utah are LDS or Mormon,
No.
as a lot of people outside of Utah know it. And she was talking about how so many of her friends have left the church, have left that religion because they were so used to being prescribed all of these medications and all of this stuff for depression and anxiety and all of that. And they said, you know what I realized I needed? An edible or a glass of wine. I haven't used any of these medications. I don't have any of these problems now. That was all I needed.
Well, yeah. I mean, it plagues most people who have some type of faith. There are certain things that are taboo to them because of
Yeah.
belief structures or whatever, but it's exactly that because and I'm not trying to shit on doctors here because there's doctors that listen to this
And there is value in medicine.
100%. But when it comes to psychotropic medications, SSRIs, and I've a long history with mental health, not necessarily just myself, but by
Working in it. Yeah.
working within the mental health community for a long time. When you're introducing these medications that are intended for short-term use, but they don't use them in short-term use because they find that the body becomes more addicted to them. I was addicted to Celexa. I was addicted, and the reason why I know that is when I tried to get off of it, my body was a wreck. I was so fucked up. My body hurt. My joints hurt. I was disoriented, and all I wanted to do was go away. And I called my doctor's office and said, I need this prescription filled right away. And because my body was going through that withdrawal and just wanting it, it was hurting me.
Yeah.
Like I almost like imagine it like Venom in, in like
Yeah.
the Spider-Man universe. Like it takes over people, right? I mean, like that guy, that's what it felt like. It was trying to kick my ass, saying, give us what we want.
Yeah.
Because it had introduced all these things. And it was so hard on my body. I had to take it again. And it wasn't until using cannabis that it got me to the point where I could not feel those effects by using a good dose of THC every day
Yeah.
got me past it.
And you
And
could wean yourself off.
right. And then when I went back on anti-anxiety medications again due to life and I'm just a wreck, I was able to get off that much easier because I knew how to dose myself. I was still using cannabis, which I thought was more of like a prophylactic for the medication I was taking. So that should tell you something, right? But when you talk about like psilocybin, the one thing that I really enjoy about having a microdose is that one, after you get over this weird fear, the first time you're doing any type of, plant-based
Psychedelic.
medicine,
Yeah.
psychedelic, is that this isn't going to kill you. It's not
Yeah.
going to kill you. And it's such a low dose.
You know what was interesting? So, what actually got me to consider LSD or psilocybin in the first place is I was using cannabis because my buddy had gone, oh, there's a medical patent that the government holds for that. So I went and researched and was like, oh shit, yeah, they do. Okay. So then I started using it and I started doing more research. And there's a document that's put out by the United States government. And it talks about harmfulness, the dangerousness of drugs. And it puts cannabis in this list. And it's about here. And then LSD and psilocybin are way down here.
Yeah.
And I'm going, so this plant that has never killed anyone, that there is no dose that we know of that will kill anyone, that we have an endocannabinoid system for, you're saying is way up here on the like harmful, dangerous scale, and yet these ones that are psychedelic, hallucinogenic, like way different than that,
Or down
are
here.
down here
Well,
in
dude,
as far as how dangerous they are.
if you think about it, dude, like, and this is just conspiracy theory about that one, but if you're trying to take away any type of distraction, what do? Well, you villainize something else, right? Because I'm sure cocaine and heroin during those times of the early drug days, it was always there was a huge war on THC, on any kind of marijuana,
Yeah. Well,
right?
it's all against the.
But you think about
It's
it,
always back to the stupid races.
not only just that, but I mean, you think back through history, like, Napoleon, when they were going through Africa, and there was parts of Africa where they would smoke cannabis over there. His troops were forbidden to be able to smoke it because they became more complacent and they were
Less likely
less,
to fight.
yeah, they were less aggressive.
Yep.
And he banned them from it. He's like,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that, because they were probably going, what the I don't know that understand why we are fucking fighting these people, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he was,
Well, and if you can criminalize other people and make them look terrible because of a plant,
and if you're
then it
trying to
makes
distract them
people,
from something
yeah,
else,
you
whatever.
like make people afraid of them too.
Yeah,
And it becomes this weird thing of like, it's dumb.
it
It's
is.
really dumb.
And that's why, like, when we take that, like, lethality rate over there, and if you think cannabis is above that, then that's where that safety needs to kind of feel and lie. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody goes and try a microdose. What I am suggesting is that you put in your research and your time to be able to understand what the properties of it are, listen to other people's experiences.
Do your own research.
Yeah, absolutely. And the really great part, though, for me personally, is one, I know when I need to be able to take a microdose because I am hyper focusing on things that I cannot change.
I feel stuck.
Yeah, you feel stuck when you get into that.
Or like I hang on to a ton of energy
Yeah.
and I can't let it go. That's when I know. So, as you guys may or may not know through listening to this show, I've been divorced for a long time. And sometimes that can be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through court times. And this last year has been a big mess of going through that stuff. And I felt like there was this hatred that I had grown for someone that I never had.
Yeah.
And I don't like hating because I don't feel like
You don't want to waste that energy.
I don't hold space for that.
Yeah.
I don't hold space for hatred. And so it was just, I hated hating. Like, yeah, that's it. I hated hating. And I felt like I needed to get rid of that energy and I needed to let it move on. And I took a microdose.
Yeah.
I didn't need a macrodose. I didn't need anything more. I needed that plant medicine to come in to let my mind think through these things, feel what I needed to, release what I needed to, and let go of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like we hang on to everything. Like, how many of us are just broken, messed up, fucked up little kids?
Oh, we're totally fucked
Like,
up.
that's all we are. This is just a bunch of old little fucked up kids who got picked on, or, their parents didn't do whatever I don't know. We're all messed up in our own ways. So,
I agree. And that's the part that when I think about using a microdose on that side for THC or for psilocybin, it's just a nice way to be able to kind of feel a little bit more grounded with yourself and get that promise that it's said on the side of the bottle for whatever antidepressant that you're taking. Because, and I'm not saying you should jump off stuff and start using this. Like, you need to work with your doctor if you want to be able to get off that stuff because you are physically dependent upon it.
yeah.
And I'm not here to grandstand for, get off these medications. These medications are very helpful. They have saved.
They can be.
They can be. They have saved the lives.
They can be harmful. But if you've been on it, you probably know that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's saved the life of somebody very, very, very close to me. It would have been beyond.
I'm incredibly thankful for that. Yeah.
Right, and those medications have helped them, and they have continued to help them, and it takes time.
Yeah.
But when I think of psilocybin, I think of all of the great properties of it. That's one of the areas that I look at. I'm like, for me, when I'm going through those hard times, like I have a bottle of Wellbutrin at my house. I filled the prescription
Yeah.
and I haven't taken one because I'm like, you know what? I know that a microdose can help me with this right now. And I don't have to take it every day. I don't even have
No.
to take it all the time.
No.
I could do a few microdoses a month. That would be great, but that would be that's a lot.
Yeah.
I know people who are doing like crazy amounts, like, oh, I take it every day, like a vitamin.
Silicon Slopes has a whole schedule for it.
Yep.
Like yeah, I followed a microdosing schedule for a while.
And it's getting more notice recognition, which I wish cannabis would one day, but
Yeah.
we all know how that's going.
Acceptance and that. Yeah.
But it's totally fine because we're getting more and more acceptable towards psychedelics, right? Like ketamine treatments and all those other things. But before you jump into, hey, let somebody shoot up a synthetic into my body, and hopefully this helps me deal with whatever shit I got going in my past. I- Psilocybin helps you to be focused on the present and helps you to let go of a lot of the things that you've been pent up about.
Yeah.
And like you said, it just kind of lets your ego, like, it gives your ego a break going, bro.
I
That's
have
why I'm
had
not,
some
yeah,
incredible trips and everyone's different.
right.
I think I think there's great value in psilocybin. And
I do too.
if you feel like you have a decent level on your mental stability where you're at, microdoses and stuff on your own is great. But if you feel like you really have, some issues or things that you're struggling with, maybe find a professional. There are places that do that around, that do psilocybin trials and do psilocybin
Yeah.
clinics and that. And you can use that to actually heal from these problems and these issues because, like,
Just a lot of us holding on to shit and
yeah,
just not letting go of it.
it is. I have let go of a lot of shit through my trips because it's like, damn, I was an angry person. Like I hung on to so much stuff and it
Yeah.
didn't serve anyone. So,
Well, and the worst part, it doesn't serve you, and that's what you have to be able to focus on. That's why we consume plant medicine. That's why we enjoy cannabis. We enjoy cannabis on the both the medicinal and the recreational side. And the great reason why we do that is because, well, we're in control. We
yeah.
know exactly what's going on. I don't imbibe alcohol by any means, just because it doesn't do well with my body. I do miss the buzz sometimes, every once in a blue moon, but I
Yeah.
miss more than anything is a really nice cold beer right in the middle of a hot day.
I don't drink often, but I had one of those the other day and it was nice.
It's nice,
Yeah.
right? It's
So
nice. And
I
so,
had one for you, we'll say.
dude, well, I mean, but I would even do non-alcoholic beer just because of the taste. I
Oh,
enjoy the
yeah.
taste. And there's a lot of new ones out there
Mm,
now.
I
But
should look into that because I like the flavor, but yeah.
I like the
Anyway,
flavor because it's just good. I just
yeah.
like the flavor. But, it's, and for me being, a part of the LDS church, I'm open about this. I'm very open about it. I'm open about my cannabis use. I mean, shit, if they didn't know, they know now,
Yeah, right?
but that would be ridiculous. As many people will we reach. But on the other side is that I'm open about it because I want that conversation to be started with those who are in a faith-based church that has had a very long reputation of saying that everything that a doctor doesn't prescribe you is evil. It's bad for you. It's going to hurt you. It's not going to help you.
Which is interesting because it's literally just a plant that grows in the ground.
Which, I mean, the LDS Church does know that one because they own lots of ground where cannabis is grown.
Oh yeah,
So,
they
and
even helped fund one of these CBD
exactly.
grows.
And that's the thing. It's they know that the properties are there. So if you think about it with the LDS Church and a lot of the perception of LDS people outside of that, because I'm a different kind, but you're going to notice that there's a lot more like me, more than you think.
I
But
think if you're outside of Utah, you'll meet more of the real people
yeah, and
because
but
they're
even
different
here, they're
outside.
starting to more waken up, and that's why I'm open about what I do. And when I talk about psilocybin with somebody, I'm like, look, this is just my experience. But what you need to do is you need to research it and figure out, because
Yeah.
I have met people, very well-to-do, astute people within the business world, that are very quiet about their psilocybin use. and they're growing it and they are medicating themselves and they have gotten past the craziest trials that happened to them in youth that still affect them today. And he's terrified to be able to talk to his wife about it. He's terrified to talk to his kids about it.
Yeah.
Because he's feeling this. And I want those individuals who are listening to this who may be of the faith that I follow or of any other faith.
Yeah.
Think about that. When this plant is just a plant and there's properties to it that actually can work within your body, I don't know of everything, any prescription drug out there. There are ones that are there to help you, but there's also ones that they have no idea what they do and they just had an effect and
they're
they're
like,
going,
oh, cool.
we can sell that.
Yep. We can sell an effect.
Yeah, we can do that. And it doesn't take it away, but psilocybin has definitely been able to help with anxiety. It helps with those really deep, dark times in your life where you feel like you're a piece of shit and you're not contributing anything to anybody. That's a good time to go on a microdose.
Or even maybe a real trip at that moment.
Yeah.
But those are, all depends on you.
And that's the thing, like, both THC and psilocybin can be scary to people who are not very accustomed to it. I think that the youth that are coming up appreciate it more. My son's asked me like, hey Dad, when can we do it together? I'm like, when you're old enough to be able to consume it, because one, it's not necessarily just the law over there, but I'm trying to be able to, because his intent is not to do what we use it for. And what our listeners use it for.
My oldest wants to when she's older, when there's need to or something.
Yeah.
Or when she's older, but she knows like until I see that there's like science or something, I'm like, all right.
I need a little bit more clarification.
I don't see science one way or the other really. And there's a lot of talk on both sides, but there's not a lot of actual supported data.
Right. It's very anecdotal.
That's what I'm looking for, is I'm like, I don't see anything out there yet, and you don't have a like direct need for this. Yes, you could value or benefit from certain cannabinoids, but is THC necessary or one of them at this moment?
No, and that's the hard part, because it's like you want those good attributes that we enjoy, on the regular.
But she made me like on Father's Day a bunch of like stoner memes and things, and then at the bottom it was signed like, hopefully your future smoking buddy. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to smoke with you when you're older. Like, yeah.
Well, and it's the same thing I told my son. I was like, when, I'll be the first guy to be able to roll that first joint with you.
Yeah.
And, will he possibly experiment? I think that's a high likability. I'm not for that.
My concern, maybe this is a whole nother discussion for another episode. It is.
But yeah, just going back, when we talk about microdosing over there, do it responsibly.
Yeah.
If you're new to it,
low and slow,
go check out down below. We are partnered with Discreet, that, they've been really generous. First purchase is 20% off.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's absolutely awesome. Use code SCHOOL at checkout. Like I said, you can see the link down below
in the show notes. Yeah.
And then also
you can go to our website.
Yeah.
It's also down on there under the products.
Yeah. Go to the website. Check it out. Let us know what you think about that. And that's a great way to be able to get a hold of us as well.
Yeah.
And also, thank all of the Patreon supporters every single month. We appreciate, every dollar counts. It really does help to be able to support our show. We put a lot of effort into this one, and we're trying to be able to make this even better experience. So
we appreciate the hell out of you guys.
We love you guys, all of you. I mean, not just our Patreon supporters. I don't want to get that twisted. We love all of you guys, because you guys are there every week. You're listening to us, and hopefully you're getting some entertainment and some education at the exact same time. We hope you take this. Please use responsibly, especially when we're talking about microdosing over there with people who are not introduced to the cannabis world. That's why we partner with Discreet. We feel it's going to be a great product to be able to slowly get into it.
Yeah.
And you won't feel...
check them out.
Yeah, give them a shot.
Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us what you think. But
all right.
Catch y'all next week.
Take care, everybody.